Welcome, DeFi degens, to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. I am Mike, aka Veteran Crypto, and I appreciate y'all for showing up for episode 9 of the DeFi Academy. If you haven't watched the other episodes, 1 through 8, I highly suggest you go to our channel and do so. It is a great introduction to DeFi, the basics. I mean, the basics of the basic. So, there's not a lot of content out there for beginners. There is some good channels, one of which I'm going to shout out in this episode. But if you're just getting into DeFi, that is what I am focusing on here. We will be doing more advanced stuff in the future, but I really want to focus on helping people get into DeFi and breaking down some of those barriers to entry. So with that, I'm just going to show the socials real quick. If you haven't followed us on YouTube, it's at DeFi Crypto Airdrop. And again, you can see here we have Discover Crypto. This is our brother channels. We fall under Discover Crypto. We got Blockchain Report. That's my boy Jeff over, and he is my airdrop specialist. He co-hosts with me on Mondays and Saturdays at 5 p.m. Pacific. He is the one that has given me a lot of really good alpha on early projects because he's farming airdrops from them. So like Plume was one of those. Blockchain Basement with Drew and Isaac. Great show if you're not following it yet. BitLab Academy with Kelly is where you can learn technical analysis and trading. And then of course there's us. So with that, DeFi Academy, like I said, just start on episode 1 at the very end. It will, queue up the second one. Just go one to the next, and each episode builds on the last. So traditional teaching style, you just teach the basics, you build on that, and just, basically build on that basis of knowledge. So, and then of course, I've gone up to 8, and then this one that we're on right now is episode 9. So, follow me over on X. You can see that I'm live. DeFi Crypto and Airdrops, the only DCA, and you can also follow me, the Veteran #4 Crypto. So, both. This is the official channel page, and then the other one is just my personal one. All right, so let's go ahead and jump on into this without further ado. Where are you at? I know you're here somewhere. Where did it go? There it is. All right, let's share this. All right, so this is the DeFi tracker, and I want to give a shout out to Crypto Labs Research. I interviewed the founder, Lucas, over there. Super smart group of guys. They are much more knowledgeable about DeFi. I've only been doing this for 6-7 months. I'm making great money doing it. And, I'm helping teach, people, and, they're all doing a very good job earning. But those guys over there, they have made millions, and they, their portfolios are in the millions and millions of dollars. They are on another level. If you're looking for more advanced stuff, feel free to go over there, learn what they have to offer. I'm teaching basics. Again, I'm actually going to be going through a course with them, and we will be sharing some of that knowledge, as far as advanced strategies and things like that. But these spreadsheets, the initial ones, I actually got from them. I have since done a bunch of work to them to make them simpler to use, because it had a bunch of stuff in there about delta neutral positions and other things that are just more advanced. For the sake of keeping it simple, stupid, I have tried to make these as user friendly as possible, and I'm starting to make it to where you can see where what fields that you don't have to touch. They automatically populate based off formulas. So let's start going through it. So basically this whole portion here, the DeFi income portfolio value, yearly DeFi income, and all the numbers and these gauges, they are all populated for you based off your inputs on other tabs. So there's no need to touch any of this. And again, These are posted for free in our Discord. I'll make sure that that's in the description, but feel free to come over and join the DIG, the Discover Investment Group. These are in the free section. Later on, there is a paid section for trading and DeFi and for more advanced stuff. But there is a free section, and you can find these there. Over here on the right, you'll see I added this. This is basically just at a glance so that I can see, back in October, you can see I started with $15,000. November, I was a bad boy, bad baby, and I wasn't tracking. December, I started tracking, and I had $29,700. We started dumping in January, 26.7, dumped again in February, 18.5. And a lot of people would feel like, oh shit, I'm losing money in DeFi. I need to get out. However, I've been tracking my token count as well. And my token count is always going up. The markets were dumping. The dollar value was going down, but my token count was going up. And you'll see the results of having that mindset here in a second and the importance of tracking your portfolio. March, 14.7. And I leveled out. April, 14.7. May, 25.3. June, 36,000. So you can see that, since we were petering off, and that's when it looked like I was losing money, but I was gaining tokens. As soon as we leveled off on the bottom and we just kind of been ranging sideways now I'm starting to see the fruits of my labors. I'm starting to see, all of, these tokens building and the value building. So if I just would have been hodling these assets, I would have been in a much worse position. But because of my earning, my portfolio is looking very nice. And you can see that my DeFi portfolio is about to lap my bull run or my hodl portfolio, because I still do have some assets that I'm hodling that don't have good DeFi opportunities. Like, DAG is one of them, and a couple others. So just, a little food for thought. So anyway, like I said, this is just what I'm going through to track. This is what I do, just kind of daily, and I'll be mapping this to another tab that I'll show you here in a second. But basically, once July starts, I'll go through and daily I'll update this so that I can see day by day, kind of, how I'm improving. Because to stay motivated, you need to see progress. It's why when you create a goal for yourself, you can't just constantly be going for this distant goal. Like, I want to be a millionaire. You'll get discouraged because you won't feel like you're making progress. You need to set milestones. And that's what this is looking at this day by day. You're like, oh shit. Yeah. Okay. I made a couple $1,000s this month. But if you don't have it, documented like this, sometimes it's hard to see. So, again, that's why, I'm building these out for you guys. All right. Next up. So this is my bull run tracker. So it has, all of my different assets, that I'm holding, not all of them, but, the larger bags. And then you can see where I've shaded, in all these tabs in blue. Those auto populate. You don't need to touch those. You fill out what, assets you hold and how many tokens you have and what target price, if you just want to sell all in lump sum, what target price that you want to sell at. Like, say you want a 10x, or just at least 10x, then you can just put that number in there. The rest of this will auto populate. This one here, you're going to have to do some work. So this one here, you can see if I click on it, I have it set for arrow. So up here in the formula, you can see it's populating off of cryptoprices.cc, and it has the ticker AERO. If, say, this was Bitcoin, I would just replace this AERO for BTC, and it will automatically, off the interwebs, it will automatically pull that price for Bitcoin, and it will auto-populate it here. So again, there's a little bit of work for you, but it's simple, stupid. You shouldn't have a problem figuring it out. But, and then I'm working on, and I'll post these updated sheets as soon as I'm done. But I'm posting the ladder out. The if you want to do something more than just a one and done, ladder out, or just, basically selling all. I have it built out on another tab. You'll see here in a minute, staged, or a ladder out strategy, based off of different price points. Pretty basic. And if you have any questions, like if there's something that I didn't cover that you have a question about, go ahead and put it in the chat at the end of this. I'll answer all the questions in the chat. So just let those stack up. I'm not ignoring the chat. I definitely am going to go through it. I just want to make sure that I stay on track and get this out in a clear, concise manner. All right. So the DeFi tracker. I have to where you can put what platform your pool is on, or your position is on. If it's on Uniswap, if it's on Aero, if you have it on VFAT, Beefy, whatever it's on, you can put it here. Whatever the asset pair is, wrapped ETH USDC, Plume USDC, whatever it is, you can type it in here. This is all manual inputs. You have to fill this out. Position type. I like to know if it's a range position, if it's a full range position. It gives me an idea of how my portfolio is, the levels. I don't know. I'm at a loss for the word I'm looking for. But basically, if you watch episode 8, I talk about building out a strong DeFi portfolio. And a big portion of that, depending on your risk, is the foundation. And the foundation of any good DeFi portfolio is going to be in staking, lending, and full range positions. Reason being is they are the most forgiving, for one. Two, no matter what the markets do, you are always earning 24/7, 365. You're not earning as much as as range positions, but it's steady. So I have mine set up to where basically at a minimum, I'm making $100 a month. I just like knowing that, I'm going to be making not $100 a month, sorry, $100 a day. Yeah, I hope I'm making more than $100 a month. So so $100 a day. So back to the sheet. So yeah, again, I just like to at a glance be able to know how my portfolio is balanced as far as ranged, if it's auto ranged locks, if it's an arrow lock, what type of position it is. And then if it's a range position, I added this, what is the lower end of my range and what is the upper end of my range? Because with a glance at this, I can look at the asset prices and I will know if I'm close to being out of range or not. Or if I'm traveling, I can look on my phone and at a glance, without having a laptop and a mouse and all that, it's just easier for me to know if there's some maintenance I need to do. If I need to pull out my laptop and log on and do some work. What my initial investment is, how much money I initially put in, very important to know. If for P&L, things like that, because I'll be adding that here in the future. What the current value is, you need to be able to plug in what the current value is. Approximate APR, what APR are you currently earning? And based off of those numbers, the current value and the APR, it will auto populate how much you're making daily, how much you're making monthly, how much you're making yearly, and and then down here, it will auto calculate in these, bottom parts, what your total daily income is across all your positions. That's the value of this. And, VFAT does a good job of, keeping track of multiple positions, but not everything. There really isn't a platform right now that you can connect your wallet to. And we're trying to build an app right now. Jeff's brother is a software engineer, and he's working on trying to build us out an app that will connect you can connect your wallet to, and it will just detect all your positions that you have across all different platforms in a nice, nice clean dashboard like this. But until then, we have this. So it will tell you, what your daily income is. Right now, I'm making $95 a day. That equates to $2,864 a month with a yearly income of $34,371. I update this every morning. I just go across my, 3 or 4 different platforms that I have liquidity on. I populate the current value in the APR, and boom, I know how much I'm making currently. You can set your goals in here. What else we got? And then here is my ladder out strategy. So like I mentioned before, back here, um, where, I have the, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the different price levels. I'm setting them up to where they automatically populate from here. So, 10 cents, 15 cents, 22 cents, 35 cents, 50 cents. I have 505,041 Casper. I want to sell 15%. Again, I plug this in manually. I plug the price that I want to sell in manually. It automatically, like I said, if it's shaded in blue, you don't need to touch it. The number of coins that I will need to sell, 75,756 coins is 15% of my holdings. At 10 cents, the value of that is going to be $7,575. If I hit all of my different take profit points, ladder out, and I'm able to hit all these, I'll have my total that I'll have in, USDC, because I'll be laddering out into stables, is $118,179. So you do that for each one of your positions. And based off that, this over here will auto populate. So basically, like this Casper right here is auto populating off this. So it will list all of them out. It will total them up. And here's my ladder out total. Again, automated. It says I'll be just shy of $600,000. If I hit all my assets, if they all hit these price points that I'm hoping that they hit, if I, in a perfect world, then I'll end up with $600,000. And, of course, there's this little pie chart over here that just gives you a nice visual representation. Sometimes it's hard, looking at your portfolio to, know if you're have a well-balanced portfolio and you're not too heavy in any one asset. This right here will just at a glance, you can look. And, I have a nice balance of DAG, Casper, Arrow, and Plume. Each are in the, 20% roughly range. So yeah, it's just, real nice and neat. Daily. So this is something, and I kind of had it here on the dashboard where I showed you, the kind of the daily, plug in here. I wanted to have something with a little bit deeper history. So this is, I'll once I'm going to change this from April, obviously, and change it to July, here in the next day or two. So this will be the current month. Now, back here on daily, I'm going to have it to where, past months. So, once July starts, this will be June, April, May, this will be May, this will be April, it will be the past couple of months. So then you can see day by day how your profile or your portfolio, went up and down, and you can have an idea, because that will give you an idea of, over a longer length of time. And then based off those numbers, I might add a bar chart or something like that. So, it will graph it out and you can see, the gradual progression of how it grows. All right. And then I added, just because I have arrow locks, I added this over here because I really like to keep track of my arrow locks. And I've been tracking this for quite some time, but just since I started this, I'll put it in here. So I'll probably go back and grab my historical data and plug it in here, just so I have everything in one spot. But this will allow me to see the progression of my arrow holdings that I have in locks, and my weekly at the end of each epoch, when I earn my fees, from voting for that epoch, that week, then I'll be able to see, how much I'm earning. And it's just, again, gives me a better idea of, where I'm progressing, how I'm progressing, what's working, what's not, those sorts of things. Without data, you're purely going off emotion and, and gut feeling. So it's very, very important that whenever you invest in anything, that, if it's traditional finance, if it's crypto, if it's DeFi, trading, whatever it is, you try to remove as a much motion as you can. Emotion will destroy you. You do not want to, rely on emotion. All right. And then there's this one. I really don't use this one. If I left it in, it has some cool data. If those of you out there, want to use it, by all means, I'm going to leave it in there and you can decide if you want it or not. But once you download these, feel free to modify them. And if any of you out there are, freaking Excel Rangers, to where you're really good with Excel spreadsheets and formulas, by all means, join the community in the DIG or, in the DCA Discord, either one of them. And we're going to be starting a mastermind group in the DIG. And, myself and BTC Boomer and TJ will probably be jumping in there on a regular basis, more so myself. But yeah, it's going to be a round table. Everyone in there is a teacher and a student. It's not going to be me, like right now, just, running my suck and monopolizing the time. I want it to be an open forum to where everybody can teach and everybody can learn. We might have a couple of people that we designate as, instructors or something like that can help guide the conversation or, ensure that they have something to teach if nobody has anything, to make sure there's value there. But for the most part, if you find a good pool, we want you to bring it to the table. If you find a cool new DeFi protocol, we want you to bring it to the table. So I think that's about it. I'll show the, let's see. I want to show. It looks like it's not going to let me show the Discord. Let me do this real quick. There we go. All right. So here is the DIG Discord. I will put a link. It should be in there automatically, but there should be a link to the Discord. I highly suggest that you get in here and sign up. Down here, DeFi Starters is the free channel. And I will, once I get done tweaking this up, I mean, we already have one, set of sheets in there, but once I get done tweaking this up, I'll update that with this, nice new sexy sheet. So, if you're looking for this sheet, that's where you're going to find it, is in the live trading room. Over here on the DCA trading group, you can come into here, DeFi library tracking sheets. If you just go to the top, I'll have them pinned up there. You can, download them for free. Feel free to tweak them up any way you like. And if you feel like that you have a really cool sheet, share it with the community. We have a great group of people in here. The reason that I kept a DCA separate Discord is we get a little spicy. I'm going to warn you. There's there's some language and some imagery that gets kind of spicy in here. So be warned. But over in the DIG, again, I make sure that any alpha that I'm giving in one, I'm giving in the other. I'm always encouraging everyone to be a member of both. I just really want, people to feel free that if they have something they want to say or share, that they have a safe place to do that. So I think that's about all I got for y'all. Let's pull up some of these questions and see what we got. All right. Falco, yep, spreadsheets, man. I know. Sack nasty, you dirty SOB. Yes, Jay, freaking sack nasty. I think he does kiss his stepmom with that mouth. Brandon, hey, what's up, man? Just in time, he's off. Finally get to catch the live. Love it. Yeah, no, the pump was going on, and it's not anymore. That's the great thing about DeFi, though. It doesn't matter what the markets are doing. We might be you know, if the markets are going sideways, our range positions are doing great. If it's dumping, our full range positions, our lending, staking, all of that, still making money. If it's pumping, we're getting price appreciation, plus we're earning yield, and everything that we stacked while it was moving sideways and dumping. If it's sitting in your wallet or something like that, you're getting full price appreciation on that. We're always making money in DeFi. It does not matter what the markets are doing. That is the beauty of DeFi. You can, if you build out your portfolio right, episode 8 in the DeFi Academy, watch it, learn it, love it. If you have your DeFi portfolio built out right, you can go to work, you don't have to worry about it. You can go to sleep, you don't need to worry about it. You can be on a plane with no Wi-Fi and you don't need to worry about it. It is very different than hodling your bags or, trying to trade. If you have a trade open and you lose your internet and, the markets are volatile, you might lose your shit. Whereas with DeFi, I don't care. It's, if the market goes up, awesome. I make even more money. If it goes sideways, awesome. I'm making even more money because I'm making on all my positions. If it goes down, my total values, my deposit value is going down, but it will go back up when price goes back up. So as long as I don't exit that position, I'm fine. So like I said, that's the beauty of DeFi. Yes, please like and subscribe, share the stream. I do this for free. I do not get paid by any sponsors, any, projects that we cover. They do not pay me in any way whatsoever in dirty fiat or crypto. I 100% do this just because I love DeFi and I want to share my experience with DeFi so that all of you out there can earn like I'm earning, and hopefully do better. I hope that you all earn more than I do. I'm sure that there's people out there that are listening right now that are smarter than me and that are going to be doing better in DeFi than me. I am just simply sharing, my experience and, the knowledge that I'm able to get. Because I know a lot of people out there don't have the time to learn this stuff. So I'm just, wanting to make it, as easily digestible as possible for you all. Food for Life. What's up, brother? Yeah. Has a cooking channel. Food for Life does. If you want to check it out on YouTube. Oh, I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, I'm definitely not the best teacher, but I do have a lot of experience teaching. How much is that course? All of our stuff is free. You know that, Jay. I appreciate you, bringing that up though, because I want everyone to understand, everything that we do is free. The sheets are free. The Discord's free. I don't want you to buy a membership on YouTube. I don't want your super chats. I don't want anything. I'll make my money on my own. I don't need your money. Put your money that you'd give us in super chats, put it in DeFi and change your financial future. That's, you want to do me a favor. That's what I want you to do is I want you to earn money. Sack Nasty, I'm gonna have to ask Drew about that. I know that they're early on. They gave out an NFT for Blockchain Basement, and I know that he's working with TJ on getting you guys access, but I don't know anything about that. I'm not a part of that conversation. Let's see. Johnny December, what's up, brother? Johnny down there in Central America going out fishing every day, you dirty son of a bitch. Let's see. The link isn't there. All right. I'll make sure that it gets in there. I'll add it, after the fact. Or if one of you in the chat, that's already a member of the DIG or the, DCA Discord, if you want to, drop that in the chat for people, I'd appreciate it. Kyle, like I said, if it's not in there, I'll add it. Usually it's added after I'm done with the live and I close it out. Then YouTube will add the default upload stuff that that I've added. So I'll make sure it's in there though. Who else we got? What they are putting together is really impressive. Yeah, the DIG is going to be a really great place to learn. When it comes to just basic crypto knowledge, news, trading, obviously DeFi, airdrops, pretty much anything that you want to do in crypto, the DIG is going to have it. We're going to have a free section, and there is going to be a paid section. Um, you know, Discover. Yeah, they need to keep the lights on. I might do this stuff for free. I'm doing it out of my cabin in the woods. They have a giant studio with employees, and they need to make money. So by all means, try to support that. Every once in a while they'll give you a free membership if you create an account on their sponsors platforms and stuff like that, or you can pay, I think it's like $99 a month or something like that, to have access to all of it. We're just getting started. The value is building, but whatever you can afford. What else we got? Oh, Pat McCrotch, Drew's dad's all up in here. What's up, sir? John, I appreciate you. Liked and subscribed. Sack nasty. Earn your laundry room spins. Let's see. All it will cost you is time, and it's worth it. Yeah. No, DeFi, honestly, it does not take long to learn. Especially just to get your toe in the door. If you do what I'm talking about and just do staking, full range positions, and lending, you're not going to make a ton of money. I mean, you're going to make, 30, 40, 50% APR on full range positions. So, it's still really good money. But, it's going to be steady money. Again, no matter what the markets do, you're going to earn. The DIG. All right, cool. So I think that's it. I mean, if those of you out there don't have any more questions, I mean, I'll give it a minute or two just to make sure. We kept it under 30 minutes, which was my goal. But actually, hold on. I never put up the banner. Let's put that up. I've got to get my arrow that's not in locks earning. Yeah, Jay. Here, I'll show you my position. That's something I can do while anybody that hasn't got their question in. All of you to know, I'm losing money. If I'm making money, if I'm losing money, I am 100% transparent. I'm not going to doctor up my portfolio and make it look like I'm earning a bunch of money to try to get viewers and stuff. Like I said, I don't make money off this. And that's kind of my integrity check is, I want all of you to understand that I am not trying to get, a bunch of follows and likes and stuff like that because, YouTube is paying me because it's monetized or something like that. I don't care if I have 2 people listening or if I have 5,000 people listening. As long as those people are getting value and they are figuring out how to earn money in DeFi and change their financial future and their family's financial future, that's what, gets me up in the morning to sit here and to do all this stuff. I love helping people. That's what gives my, my life purpose. So, anyway, let's share this. So this is VFAT. One of my episodes in the DeFi Academy talks about DeFi aggregators. And that's what this is it's a place that you can, I don't know why it's not showing all of them, but, basically this is a place where you can come and find not all pools, but the larger pools that are on Aerodrome, Velodrome, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, Hyperliquid, a lot of these dexes. You can come here and you can find them all in one place. It saves you a ton of time. where you don't have to, connect your wallet to a bunch of different places and, that sort of thing. It also gives you a bunch of added functionality. When you want to enter a position, instead of having to do a bunch of swapping manually and have an equal amount of each asset or a certain amount of each asset and having to do a bunch of complex math to figure out what that is, you can just come here and you just select an asset in your wallet. So if you have a bunch of USDC that you just want to shove into or you've taken profits or your yield, collected your yield off of all your earnings, and you just do it all in one asset. You can do it all in like USDT, USDC, wrapped ETH, whatever. And then you can open up a new position. I do it all the time. So, all of my positions over here in my DeFi tracker, again, I started with, almost $8,000 in wrapped ETH. With the yield that I earned off this one position, I've, for the most part, opened up the rest of these positions. So, basically what I did is I just took my profits, let it build up in my wallet. When I saw a pool I wanted to get into, I used that dry powder to open another one. And then, with the profits from those two, I opened another one. The profits from those three, I opened, maybe a couple more, and just, rinse and repeat. And so I organically built a DeFi portfolio with some seed money. I haven't bought a single crypto with my own money in 6-7 months. My DeFi portfolio growth is 100% self-funded. So it's important to understand that. But yeah, that's VFAT. So, but again, it gives you some really good analytics. Up here, you can look at, okay, how much am I making a day? Off of these here, I'm making almost $32 a day. Doesn't seem like a lot, but like, again, this is just 3 positions they're actively working right now. 2 are out of range. But weekly, I'm making $223 of free money just off those 3 positions. And monthly, I'm making almost $1,000 just off of 3 positions. So what is that? 3,500, 4,500, $5,000. Oh no, sorry. 4,500, 6,500. So off of $6,500, I'm making $1,000 a month safely. Like, very little risk. Super wide ranges or full range positions. I'm making $1,000 a month. Just mailbox money, 24/7, 365. I can be outside working on the property. I can be working out, spending time with the family. I can be on a plane. I can travel, whatever. I can be sitting by my creek with a beer right now, sitting in the creek, drinking a beer, and I'm making money. It's a beautiful thing. I can't stress it enough. How easy DeFi is to make money. Plume. I started with $800. I have like $4,500 current value worth of Plume. If Plume goes back up, I'm going to have probably like 10 grand. If it goes back to where it was at before, I'll have about 10 grand worth of Plume. And it's all from $800. I've been stacking my Plume bag with $800 worth of free yield that I got from that wrapped ETH pool, and just keep on stacking. I'm bullish as shit on Plume. I got a bunch of money in Plume, over on the Plume portal. Beefy. This is a really good platform. This is arranged positions, but fully automated. So if they go out of range, it auto rebalances. Whenever I earn yield, it auto compounds. It is 100% hands off. And you can look, yes, my P&L. I am down $235, from my initial entry. I initially put $1,016. The current value is $783. It's because the price of AVAX and everything has gone down since I put that in. But I have earned $114 of free AVAX and USDC because it's on Uniswap. I'm earning both of those, that it's being compounded back in. So once AVAX goes back up to the price that that it was when I initially entered this position, which it will eventually, you just got to be patient. Then, and I can exit this position and lock in those losses, but I'm not, because I'm always earning. But once it goes back up, I'll have $1,016, in here, plus all of the wrapped AVAX that I've earned is going to go up in value as well. So, I might have, 11 or 1200 bucks in here by the time it goes back up. So you have to have that type of mindset where you're not emotional with these price fluctuations. If you believe, and you know what, this is going to be my closing thought. So obviously this is my profile. This, again, this is alpha that I got from Crypto Labs research that I'm using. I always like to give credit where credit is due. I'm not going to pretend like I came up with these, but they just make sense. These are the DeFi rules. Choosing liquidity pools. Believe in the assets. Reason being, AVAX, I'm bullish on. If I end up having to, if it goes out of range, if that wasn't an automated, rebalance, if, my wrapped ETH, if it goes out of range towards the bottom end, I'm going to end up where I'm all in on wrapped ETH. So I'm basically at that point, because I'm not earning yield, I'm hodling that ETH, which I'm okay with. I know that ETH will go up eventually. Not going to stress about it. That's why you need to believe in the assets. Because if you're doing a range position and it goes down out of range and you're not earning yield and the price is going down, so the value of your holding is going down, you need to have conviction that you believe in those assets. Next, TVL, total value locked in the pool, needs to be $250,000 or more. If you are adding large amounts of liquidity, so like if there's $250,000 in there and you're adding $200,000, let's just say 250 for a good round number, you are now 50% of that liquidity pool. So if a bunch of people take their liquidity out and then you go to try to exit and there's not enough liquidity, you might end up taking a loss due to slippage. You might end up not being able to get all your liquidity out. So you need to look at the TVL when you're entering into these pools. Next, a lot of people will just look at the APR and think a high APR means a high amount of earning. It can. However, a better indicator is volume. Volume is the amount of people that are swapping between the assets of that pool. So if it's USDC and wrapped ETH, if people are swapping from one to the other, that is what is earning you fees, and that is the volume. So volume is a better indicator, in my opinion, of the potential earning for that pool. Trusted dexes, Aerodrome, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, Aave. These are respected, well-established protocols. Stick to those. If later on, if you want to, chase with small amounts of money, with OPM, other people's money, some of the yield that you earn, and you want to try out some new protocols that are, brand new, that might not have a lot of TVL, that, could go out of business, and, that's fine. But do not go straight for those chasing APRs. High correlation in ranged positions, especially a crypto pair. And I get into this in the DeFi Academy, so I won't go deep into it. Correlation is the assets moving together. If they're highly correlated, they move together. No matter how volatile they are, if they're moving together, you're going to stay in range. If they move opposite each other, if one's dumping and one's pumping, then it's going to go out of range. They are not correlated if they're moving like that. So you want a high level of correlation. And in DeFi Llama, in the DeFi Academy, in the episode I did on tools, I show there's a correlation matrix on DeFi Llama. That is a great place to look and see how correlated two assets are over 7 days, 1 month, 1 year. So watch that if you're curious about that. Is it trending sideways or up? Again, trending sideways in a range position is optimal. That means that you're just stacking. You're just earning yield, steady yield. And if it's going up, you're earning yield until it goes out of range, but you're getting price appreciation as well. Um, and if it's going down in full range positions and lending, if you're going to hold those assets anyway, doesn't matter. And then gas fees. Not so much an issue now, especially like on base and things like that. They're fractions of a cent, to perform, to deposit liquidity, remove liquidity, you know, uh, withdraw your fees, take your fees, things like that. ETH, if mainnet gets busy and you don't have, and you're trying to collect, $5 in fees or $10 in fees, and the gas is a couple of dollars, that's cutting into your profits. If you're, withdrawing $500 or $1,000 worth of fees and it's $1 or $2, you're not going to sweat it. But be aware, whenever you click to withdraw your fees, those windows that pop up, actually read those. See how much it's costing you to perform these transactions so that you don't eat up your profits with fees. And again, for the most part, not something you should have to worry about, especially on base and things like that. So that's about all I got. Let me do one last check on the questions and we'll cut this off. Best place to do a plume pool, Kyle Watts. So right now, the best place to do a plume pool is Uniswap. I'm earning 148, almost 149% right now on Uniswap. However, if you want to get a little degen, not financial advice, you can go to the plume pool on Ambient. I'll pull it up real quick. There's a bunch of really cool DeFi protocols right now on the Plume portal. And right now, there's this position. So I deposited $600. Plume's gone down a little bit. I deposited $600 a couple of days ago and been tracking it, but I'm making 810% APR right now. Let me see if I can zoom in for you a little bit. Yeah, let's zoom out. There we go. I'm making 810% right now on this position. And here's the details. So you can see my range. You can see, how this Plume and PUSD is their stablecoin, Plume stablecoin. So Plume, basically USDC, pair, being a stablecoin. You can see, the price of Plume is, what dictates, how it moves, in the range. I'm making 810% APR. I've earned 200 Plume, and I've earned $16.18 of PUSD. So about $32, $33 worth of value off of $600. So I'm earning about 1% a day is about what I'm earning right now off of this position. And 1% a day might not seem like a lot, but that's 30% a month. If you have $10,000 in a position, that's $3,000 a month that you can make just off of, a position like this. So if you want to get a little bit degen, you can do that. So anyway, yep, Uniswap is great for Plume. Joseph, yes and no. So the steps to $100 a day in the DeFi Academy, it really depends on what you're starting with, and what your financial goals are, what your risk tolerance are, things like that. Don't focus so much on if that's your goal. That's a great goal, and that's a very obtainable goal. Set that as your first milestone. You want to make $100 a day. Don't do it at the risk of your portfolio, though. Build it, watch episode 8 on how to build a DeFi portfolio. Build it out for sustainable growth. Build it out for that guaranteed yield. Lending, staking, and full range positions. Full range positions will earn you the most off the bat. Build out that foundation. Make that your priority. Once you have that and you get that to the point to where you're making $100 a day, then what I would do, it's what I did, is start levering up your risk. So you might take that $100 a day, build it up over a week, have $700, and then use that $700 to enter into a range position that has really high APR and that has really good volume, and so that you can boost your earning. So maybe off that $700, you're able to earn $20 a day. So now you're making $120 a day. And if it's in an asset like those rules I showed that you believe in, like maybe it's a new asset like I did with Plume. I turned $800 into $5,000, of current value. It's actually 10 grand, worth of value if it goes back to where I initially, started getting into Plume. So, you can see how you can use this to build bags in stuff that you're bullish on. KTA, same thing. I took a bunch of my yield, I think it was about $600 or something like that, and got into a KTA pool. It was printing money for 2-3 weeks. It was printing money while it was pumping. And I built a huge bag of KTA. So that's what I would suggest, is go through the DeFi Academy. Once you're at the, get done with the DeFi, start building out your DeFi portfolio. And while you do it, use the tracking sheets. Make sure that everything you do, that you have economy of movement. It's a saying we have in the military. Make sure that everything that you do has purpose. Don't jump around. A bunch of movement isn't going to make you money. Well thought out, well planned movements are going to make you money in DeFi. It's not trading. You don't have to move fast. If it's another saying in the military. Sorry, I use a lot of military sayings. Is slow is smooth, smooth is fast. You don't have to be the fastest person, in the room, when you're, like in the military. Because when we were doing, CQB, close quarters, a lot of people would try to rush, into rooms and stuff like that when you're clearing rooms, during training. And we'd always tell them, slow is smooth. Smooth, if you can move smoothly, stay focused, and you know what it is you're supposed to do, that is more effective than being that fucking squirrel that's all over the place, getting in everybody else's line of fire, and not in the right place at the right time and things like that. It's the same thing with DeFi. You want to know what you're working with, and that's why we have the tracking sheets. You want to know what you're looking for, and if that's a full range pool, if you're building out your foundation, whatever it is, and then take action. Make sure everything you do is well thought out. Johnny December, cheers, bud. Great show. Got to get back outside. I appreciate you, Johnny, down there catching all the fish. Damn you. Yeah. Crypto Sanimi. Yeah. 1% a day is not bad at all. If you can earn 1% a day, you're going to do well. Stan, any insight on Plume's downward movement? Honestly, Plume has leveled out. Let's go to Coin Market Cap, and we'll end on this. I just wanted to make sure I got to everybody's questions. Plume. Damn it. Plume. All right, here we go. So Plume, if you look over the past month, I mean, for the most part, we've been kind of, sitting above this, almost 8 cent, level, around this 8 cent level, we, dropped with everything else, and we just been trending sideways. Um, if you look at price, I can see how you might be a little bit bearish, but if you look at Plume itself, go to the Plume portal. I highly encourage anyone that is curious about Plume or that holds Plume. Let me adjust my camera real quick. There we go. I'm sitting by a bunch of windows, so the sun has a big effect. Is go there and look. DeFi Llama. You can go to DeFi Llama and it will give you, this is by far the best tool. Here's that correlations matrix that shows, I was telling you, when you're in a pool with two assets, how they move how they move together, and you can just add, whatever you want. So if you want to add Solana, if you want to add Tron, Dogecoin, you can add all those, and it will show you, over the past year, one is a perfect score. So, like ETH and wrapped ETH, it's going to be a perfect score of one. And then, of course, the lower the number, the less correlated they are. TRX, Tron and Bitcoin, over the past year, highly correlated. Over the past month, not so much. Over the past 7 days, it's done pretty well. So again, really good tool. But if you come to chains and you're looking at all of these, different DeFi chains. So DeFi Llama is all of DeFi. This is where you can get just granular data, data points on protocols, all the different dexes, on bridge TVL, on the individual chains, the growth. If there's an exodus, if TVL is being drained from a chain, and moving someplace else, you can see it here. Again, volume is what we're looking for. So, but you can look at 7-day change. You can look at 1 month change. Over the past month, Plume has grown 245%. Over the past day, Plume is down a little bit, but over the past 7 days, it's grown 115%. And you can see there's 30 protocols on Plume. You can pull this up and, you can see, Ethereum, of course, has the most. You can look at DeFi TVL, and you can see, where everything sits. Bridge TVL, stables, 24-hour DEX volume, whatever, matrix that you want to use to, see. But let's go to the actual Plume. So you can see, this is the chart. This shows that since mainnet went live, a couple weeks ago, that TVL, you can switch on the deck. Might take it a second, but it will show you, the TVL and the DEX volume. It's the TVL is growing and the DEX volume has leveled off. So, again, it's a lot of stuff's being built out on Plume. A lot of institutional. They have 200 plus institutions that are building out dApps currently. A bunch of them are already live. They have Arc, which is a tokenization platform that's going to be used to tokenize real estate, stocks, bonds, treasuries, all that stuff. And it's built out on Centrifuge is the basis of that. So anyway, I can go on and on, but I won't. So, yeah, please, like and share the channel and the stream. I really just want to get the good word out and give people a safe place to learn about DeFi. As you all know, in crypto, there's people out there that are going to shill and they're going to, try to, take your money. There's scammers out there all over. So, please, show them a safe place that they can come and learn DeFi. I'll make sure that I get those Discord links up for you all. that are were curious about that. And yeah, and if you haven't already, please give a follow to Discover Crypto, the blockchain report, if you're interested in airdrops, blockchain basement for all your based alpha in crypto and politics, BitLab Academy if you want to learn TA and do trading, and of course us, DeFi and airdrops. So with that, I appreciate you all taking the time. Time is our most valuable resource. I appreciate you, spending some of it here with me, learning. And until next time, Veteran Crypto out.